What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Cali Kid Official Podcast. This is episode number 31, so let's get right into it. So this past weekend we had UFC 252. It was a pretty eventful affair. We had a couple of rough battles, so let's get right into it. So we had Santos versus Rosenstruck. This was a pretty interesting fight. I did say in the last podcast that I believe that Rosenstruck would rise to the occasion and get back on the winning side of things, and he did, and he pretty much knocked out Santos. He caught Santos with a couple of hits. Santos started to wobble, and then he went in for the kill, and he actually dropped him. I believe it was twice. Yeah, in the second round, he dropped him a couple of times, and then he ended up winning at 3 minutes and 47 seconds in round number 2 by TKO. So that was a pretty interesting fight. They asked him after what was his next move. Did he want to go against Ngannou again? He said that he actually wants to fight for the belt. So whatever happens between miocic and Ngannou, I believe they're going to fight again, or fight for the belt next, and then whoever wins out of that is probably going to be who Rosenstruck is going to fight, because he said he only want to rematch Ngannou if he has the belt. So we're just going to have to see with that. And then the next fight we had Sean O'Malley versus Vera. This was a pretty interesting fight. O'Malley, for the most part, was pretty much cruising in the first round, and then at some point a lingering injury reappeared, and his ankle buckled and he collapsed to the floor, and Vera went in for the kill on this, and he pretty much won. That was kind of crazy. So when he slipped to the floor, Vera went in, he landed 3 elbows, and that pretty much ended the whole thing. So that was kind of crazy. So Vera ended up winning by TKO at 4 minutes and 40 seconds in round number 1. So this was pretty much near the end of the first round. So if he would have held out for a little longer, maybe he could catch his win or whatever. But then again, with that type of injury, he probably would have succumbed to losing to Vera eventually, because they said that it was a lingering injury, and some analysts were like, if he had this injury and he knew he had this injury going into the fight, why did he risk re-injuring it in his fight? But you never know. You can think an injury is gone and then it comes back on you. So that was crazy. And then we get to the main event, the trilogy bout between miocic and Cormier, and it was just as good as the first two. So the first round, miocic was outstriking DC, and then at some point in the fight, DC managed to get like a chokehold on him, and towards the end of the round, DC hit him with some shots which buckled him, and I believe if the cage wasn't there to catch his fall, he would have went to the ground. So the first round I gave to DC. Then the second round, miocic catches DC and pretty much almost got him out of there, but he ended up surviving to the end of the second round. So I gave that one to miocic, even though the strike output was increased by DC in this round. I gave it to miocic in the second. So going into the third, I had it 1-1. And then in the third round, miocic, he became more aggressive. And at some point, he eye poked DC. And then from then on, that pretty much hindered DC for most of the fight, because he could only see out of one eye, because his left eye was pretty much black, as he said. And when he ended up going to the hospital, they say he had a scarred cornea. So that must was crazy. But round 4, the striking was pretty even. Round 4 was a round where it could have went either way. I had it as a tie. And then we go into round 5. Stipe, he landed more shots, but DC was landing more headshots, and I gave that one to DC. But the judges ended up having it 49-46, 49-46, and 48-47. So 2 judges had miocic winning, I believe, what is that? 4 out of 5 rounds. That's crazy. So they gave him every round except for one, and then you had one judge scored 3-2, which I would have believed that's more closer to how it actually was, because the fight was a lot closer than that. But of course, it is what it is. Miocic retained his heavyweight belt. John Jones announced that he's going to be moving up to heavyweight. He's already relinquished his light heavyweight title, so he says when he comes back, he's going to be fighting for heavyweight. So that should be interesting, because John Jones pretty much didn't beat everybody in the light heavyweight division. There's not really anybody there for him. Then him moving up to heavyweight, we get to see Jones Ngannou, Jones Miocic, and Jones is very nimble and strong, so this should be pretty interesting when he does return. But that's pretty much that for the UFC. But moving on from that, we had the first round of the NBA playoffs. Several of the teams have already taken leads within their respective battles. So we get Miami leading against the Pacers 2-0. Houston is leading 2-0 over OKC. I believe those two might possibly be sweeps. The Orlando and Milwaukee series is tied, which is crazy because Orlando is a 7th seed. Maybe they tapped into some of that Orlando magic, seeing as how the playoffs is being played in Orlando and at Disneyland at that. So, and then the Portland series is now tied. The Lakers dominated in Game 2, winning by a score of 111-88. So, and then also Lillard got hurt in his game with a dislocated finger. So it's looking as though Portland might be running out of gas, and I see the Lakers winning this series probably in 5 or 6 games, because the first game was close, and then the second game they just blew it open. At one point they were up by as many as 30 points. So that's gonna be that's crazy. And then you also have to look at it like this: Portland has played the most out of everybody, so they're tired. So, which I thought sooner or later that was going to take effect. But yeah, I see the Lakers eventually winning that series. Toronto looking like they about to sweep pretty much. They lead their series 3-0 over Brooklyn. And then Denver, they took a 2-1 lead on the back of their star player Mike Conley returning. And they pretty much blew Denver out. Or should I say they blew out the Denver Nuggets 124-87, which that's crazy. So yeah, that's crazy. Almost 40 points. Yeah, so and then you should have seen the looks on all the players' faces. Like they got their asses handed to them. The Sixers had the same look because Boston is giving them all they can handle. And as of this podcast, which you guys are going to be seeing this on Saturday, but on Friday they're playing right now, and it looked like the game was pretty close. So we'll just have to see who wins out of that. But I believe Boston's going to win that series. Then we get Dallas versus the Clippers. And in reality, Dallas should be up 2-0. The Clippers pretty much got saved in the first game on a bogus ejection call, when in reality, Porzingis blocked the player. He didn't foul him, and he voices his pleasure over that. And many players felt the same way. LeBron, a couple of other players were like, there's no way that was a foul. I think Nowitzki said the same thing, Dirk Nowitzki. But I see Dallas winning that series. It's tied now. This one might go to 6 games. 6 games at the most, I believe. It could be a 5-6 as well, but I think at most it's going to go to 6 games. But moving on from that into the NBA draft lottery. So the next round of picks for the draft have been decided, and the Minnesota Timberwolves were lucky number 1. So they have their choice of picks. You have Georgia's Anthony Edwards. Of course, you got LaMelo Ball, who I believe is the best player in the draft. They can go after a center. But picks is as follows. Number 1, the Timberwolves get number 1. The Warriors get 2. The Hornets get 3. The Bulls get 4. Cavs 5. Hawks 6, Pistons 7, Knicks 8. The funny thing about this is a lot of people was roasting the Knicks because they got the 8th pick, and you know their franchise is going to continue to be trash. So a lot of players were cracking jokes at them. And then you get the Wizards at 9, the Suns at 10, the Spurs at 11, the Kings at 12, the Pelicans at 13, and the Celtics at 14. So a lot of people have Anthony Edwards going number 1. Some have James Wiseman, who's a center, going to the Warriors, but I think the Warriors probably going to draft LaMelo Ball. But Anthony Edwards, he's from Georgia. He's a guard, 6'5". LaMelo, he's 6'7", so he can play the 1, the 2, and the 3. So that gives you some versatility right there. They have Golden State picking him up. That would be interesting. You know, Steph Curry, LaMelo, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, and whoever else they got. And then he can also fill in, and let's say Curry go to the bench. You still have somebody capable of scoring on their own on the floor. So that would be deadly. That would be interesting. They got the Hornets drafting James Wiseman at center, 7'1". Some think that the Warriors might take him, but really I'm interested to see where LaMelo go. You know, I've been following his career for a minute. You know, ever since they came out with the Ball in the Family show, I've been following, you know, that entire family. I know Jello is in the G League on the OKC team, so he's still developing his game. Sooner or later, he might get called up because he has shooting ability as well. I think he just has to work on his conditioning and stuff like that. But before before that incident happened in China, he was shaping up to, you know, go through the college system and probably be a top 10 pick. But, you know, things happen. But I think eventually he's going to make it on somebody's roster. But, yeah, that should be interesting. That should be interesting. You know, the Ball family is getting the last laugh now because all 3 of the sons is in the NBA. All 3 of them are in the NBA. And then from what I've heard as like a rumor, all 3 of the sons are on board with the Big Baller Brand Company too, which that's a smart move. You know, you about to have one son get drafted again, so of course that's gonna bring the kids that follow him into wanting to buy his gear and merchandise and stuff. So that would be a perfect storm. But overall, this is pretty cool. It's always funny though. The Knicks. Like, don't nobody want to play for the Knicks because it's a poorly ran franchise. Nobody wants to play. But moving on from that, Flint, Michigan, there's been a settlement awarded to the citizens affected in the form of $600 million, which is crazy because it's like still to this day, the situation still hasn't been resolved, but yet they have money to pay the citizens that have been affected by this incident. Like, why couldn't they put that money into giving them fresh drinking water, and they have to line up just to get fresh water, which is crazy. But it says Flint residents line up for miles to get bottled water. The state of Michigan and other defendants have reached a $600 million settlement in the Flint water crisis lawsuit that will provide hundreds of millions in payments to the city residents. The settlement will establish a court-monitored victims compensation fund that will provide the direct payments to the Flint residents. Nearly 80% of the money will go to those who were younger than 18 at the time of the crisis, according to a news release from the interim co-lead class council for victims of the water crisis. Residents in Flint raised concern about the water more than half a decade ago, often voicing jugs with discolored water at local leaders. Yeah, that's rust and all types of chemicals. All water got, you know, all types of metals and chemicals in it. There's actually this website, I can't think of it right now, but there's this website where you can type in your address or whatever, or your zip code, and it shows you all the different chemicals and stuff that's been found in your water. I think it's like EPA.org or something like that. It says this partial settlement is the result of 5 years of litigation and 18 months of court supervised negotiations. Like, that's crazy. Y'all got that much money. Why couldn't y'all put that into your water infrastructure? That right there speaks to the lack of leadership at the top. It always starts at the top. It's a poorly run city. Water unsafe for public use. Flint, once home to one of the nation's largest General Motor plants, fell into an economic decline beginning in the 1980s. Yep, that's because all of those car manufacturers and stuff decided to ship the jobs overseas. And then those same companies are getting tax breaks, even though their factories and their products aren't made in the U.S. The state of Michigan ultimately took over the city's finances in 2011 after an audit projected a $25 million deficit. That's crazy. But at least, they're getting money, but it still haven't solved the problem. It still hasn't solved the problem. That's crazy. It still hasn't been solved, but at least something has been done, I guess. That's crazy. But moving on from that, Meg Thee Stallion has basically took to the internet to basically tell on Tory Lanez, saying that he shot her and this, that, and the third. So we're gonna get really deep into this because this entire situation is crazy to me. So basically, behind the scenes, both of their publicists have been making inroads to combat each other's actions within this event. Meg is the only one that's really spoken out about it, and there's been a lot of inconsistencies in what's been said. She said one thing, and then later on it's become something else. Like, when we first heard about this, there was some type of argument. Kylie told them to leave. They got in a car. She got shot while she was in the car. And then after that, she said she stepped on glass. And then after that, it was, oh, I got out the car, walked away, then I got shot. So, and then the other thing I don't get is, if you got shot, why would you get back into the car with somebody that shot you? That don't even make any sense. But a lot of things have been floating around. So apparently Tory and Meg's friend were seeing each other or had feelings for each other or something like that. And then at some point the friend got the COVID and she was out of the scene. And then shortly after that, Meg and Tory hooked up, which I pretty much knew that with those pictures and videos that they were showing on the internet. So they were smashing. So pretty much I'm believing the argument was about them two smashing Tory. It got out of hand and somebody reached for the gun and shot her. Whether it was Tory or whether it was her friend, who knows. But in all honesty, she shouldn't have said anything. She should have let the entire thing play out in court, because the attorneys on his side is going to use the inconsistencies, in her story to poke holes in her story and ultimately, try to tarnish her side in the case. But, and then, you got people calling her snitch and stuff like that. Another thing, you can't be saying you're a savage and you're ratchet and this, that, and the third, and then you get on the internet and do that, because the term savage, that's not a civilian term. That comes with something else. So can't be saying all of that. And then of course, you got people canceling Tory, but I think it's hypocritical to do that before all of the facts is out there. Yeah, she got shot or whatever, but you should wait until you have all the information. And then she showed pictures of her foot, and it's looking more like a scrape than anything. I think if it was like a direct, bullet wound, it would have looked worse. What I think happened is, whoever shot the gun, the bullet's fragmented and it caused it to do that. This entire situation is unfortunate. And then of course, you know, you get 6ix9ine listening to her music talking about she my new favorite rapper, because of course, you know, he snitched, so he just trolling with that. But this entire situation is messy to me, very messy. And if it comes out that things didn't play out how she's saying it is, it's gonna be even worse. So we just gonna have to wait and see with the case, because the LAPD says that her injuries are consistent with that of being scratched with glass or whatever, not that of a bullet injury or whatever, or a gun injury. So, but this whole shit is crazy, if you ask me. But moving on from that into NBA YoungBoy and Fredo Bang. So apparently they have some type of tension between the two. So apparently Fredo is scheduled to release a project, and NBA is releasing a project on the same time. So I guess he took issue with that. But they have a history with one another. Apparently Fredo and NBA's exes have been in situations with one another, so you know there's always been a back and forth between the two. So Fredo put on Instagram, guess me and my son dropping together, and I guess NBA saw that, and this is what he had to say.
Yeah, I could double back. I could fuck any bitch. Nigga gonna try to double back and fuck the bitch. I could fuck your mama. You gonna try to fuck your mama. You a bitch. You a pure bitch. Hey, you a bum, you bitch ass nigga. Go dig all 3 of your brothers up with your scary ass. You a bitch. Stop running from me. I ain't in no competition with you. Stop writing me. You a hoe.
That shit crazy. You talking greasy. Yeah, that shit crazy. Fredo have posted something too, but I don't see it no more. Maybe they got taken down. But hopefully, you know, things don't escalate. We don't need no more people dying over senseless drama. But moving on from that, NBA put out a picture, and it looks eerily similar to Roddy Ricch's album cover. And of course, you know, you have people point that out. And as they say, imitation is the biggest form of flattery, and that's what this looks like right here. So if you look at both pictures, they both wearing black long sleeve. They both got on the same chains, the same look, and the same shading. So this is a blatant ripoff of Roddy Ricch's album cover. But they're saying this is just a photo that he just put out there to let his fans know about his upcoming album. But if this turns out to be his album cover too, that's going to be crazy. But Roddy Ricch has since spoken on the situation, and he says, "It's only one Roddy Ricch. I've been fucked with dude, so don't make it about him. I'm just tired of all this comparing shit." And they still can't get over how he copied it from the hair to the shirt to the chains. Yeah, like that vest is crazy. It's funny if you ask me. But moving on from that, Jay-Z is apparently still not over either, because he continuously trolls Nas by releasing music. Every time Nas puts out a project, Jay decides to put music out as well, and this has been going on for quite some time. So right here it says, Justin, Jay-Z, and Pharrell Williams are dropping a collab single tonight titled Entrepreneur. Jay-Z has stepped on the last 3 Nas album releases. This is getting weird. Literally every time Nas drops an album, Jay-Z drops something. And that's true. He's been doing that for forever. Dropping at the same time as Nas. There's an image too. Let me see something. Pull that image up. Alright, here we go. So this is the image right here. So as you can see, dating all the way back to 2001. Nas puts out Stillmatic, December 18, 2001. Jay puts out Unplugged, same day. Nas puts out Street Disciple. Jay-Z puts out Collision Course. Nas puts out his greatest hits. Jay puts out American Gangster. Nas puts out Nasir. Jay puts out the Everything Is Love project with his wife a day later. Nas puts out the Lost Tapes 2. Beyonce and Jay-Z puts out the Lion King soundtrack. So he hasn't gotten over Ether, so he's basically been trolling him this entire time, which I think is petty. And it shows you who really won in that beef between those two. But moving on from that, apparently Kodak has been a big influence, even still in prison. So Cardi and Meg have both stolen things starting by him, and fans have brought this up. So Cardi came with a new hit song called "Walk with Meg," and Kodak basically came up with this acronym first in a previous record, as you can see right here. So it says, Cardi B and Meg Thee Stallion owe a lot to Kodak Black. Cardi's breakout hit Bodak Yellow was a remix of Kodak track, which it was. That's still today her biggest record. And then her second biggest record, this WAP, is pretty much owed to Kodak as well. So they need to be cutting him some type of check. And then it also says, Meg's "Let Me Drive the Boat" catchphrase was also a Kodakism. So this is from one of his songs. It says, "My name is Kodak, but you know that already. I don't want the WAP, baby, I just want the Fetty." So that's basically where that term comes from. And he was also playing off of Fetty Wap's name as well. But it still shows you that, once again, she's borrowing from Kodak. Because those two records that she put out, Press and Money, wasn't doing nothing. So they had to come with the overdrive of sex appeal with this new record. And then of course we go to the Drive the Boat thing that people associate with Meg, but was really started by Kodak. It says Kodak's been locked up for at least the next couple of years, but he seems to have access to Instagram. In his pen, he's been defending his legacy from the likes of Meg Thee Stallion. When Meg was on Strahan, Sarah, and Kiki, the three-headed host gave her credit for the phrase "drive the boat," and she didn't object. Yeah, people always taking people's stuff. Meg does rap "Let Me Drive the Boat." However, as Kodak pointed out in his Instagram post, he was the first hip-hop figure to utter "drive the boat" in an aquatic clip that went viral. He says, "I really want to go bad on Little One, but I'm keeping this shit pretty." He captioned the clip of Meg staying silent when others credited her with the line. We can't blame Kodak objecting. He doesn't have a lot to do all day.
Let me drive the boat.
They stupid. But he was on an actual boat too. But yeah, Kodak, his influence is still ringing out, and hopefully things progress in his case, because it's looking like they trying to railroad him over these charges that they got him in there for. But that's going to pretty much do it for this week's podcast. I appreciate you all for tuning in. Before you go, be sure to leave a like and a comment below. If you're listening on Spotify, Anchor, and everywhere else, I also appreciate you all for tuning in. And until the next episode, stay healthy and peace.
CaliKidOfficial.